so I have 7 o'clock p.m. I will call the meeting to order. Roll call. Gonzalez. Here. Mason-Jack. Here. Pelletier. Here. Rizzo. Here. Jost. Here. All right. First up, I'll make a motion to approve the regular board meeting minutes for July 8th, 2021. A second. Seems like it was a relatively short meeting in July. Any corrections, questions? All those in favor of approving the minutes from July 8th, 2021, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next, public comments, agenda items only. The agenda was posted. Hello. Any comments, agenda items? All right. President's report. The only thing I would just like to say and make note, I'm going to try not to get choked up, but this is our first meeting without Eric.
Yes.
We will miss him. It was weird reading the minutes with his name on it, right? So we will continue to remember him and very fun. We will definitely miss him. So that's my report. Committee reports. We'll go right into finance.
I'll make a motion to approve the financial statements for July 2021.
I'll second.
Okay. Start with the cash statement. Does anybody have a question or two? No? Are we okay with the income statement? Anybody have any questions or taxes or? What is this, the current month actual is 0? Is that because
We didn't receive any tax income
in
months that month.
July?
In July,
Okay.
right? So if you look at current year to date, where it says 1.83 million, right? That's what we've received so far.
So far.
And then the Cook County tax bills went out late, and so they are due October 1st or something like that. So we should hopefully start to see some tax monies. I was getting a little nervous with our accounts yesterday, because I was also watching for our last, the last line of drawdown from the line of credit loan for the last payment for the renovation. So, so hopefully by next month's meeting, we should start to see some of those tax monies.
I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah, yeah, so that's why,
I know it's later than this year. Okay, check register. Anybody have any questions?
I just have a comment. Wow, July. I think that was one of the biggest ones we've ever had.
We also had
August.
We also had the big Michelle's.
Which one?
July.
She just meant the whole month.
Oh, the whole thing. Oh, look at that one, $213.
Yeah.
Had eyes on it underneath.
And this being July, these are like a lot of stuff that is, we pay these twice a year, you know, so that all ledger. Any questions? I've already asked my questions. And then, so this general ledger trial balance, is that, but that's August,
Yeah, we had to vote because we canceled the meeting.
huh? Because we
We
weren't.
have two, July and August.
Yeah, right, that's because we weren't here in August. Oh, wait a minute.
Do you want to vote on the July
Yeah, so we'll-
financials first,
Yeah,
and then we
we're-
vote
I think
on the
we're gonna have
August?
to-
Okay, so let's
Fine.
vote on
Let's
the
work on
statements.
July first.
Were there any other questions for July?
Okay.
Because I'm going to take a vote and then we'll go to August, okay?
Okay,
Mesa Jack?
Yes.
Pelletier, yes. Puzo?
Yes.
Jost?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
yeah.
Thank you.
So then we can move on to August.
So do I have to make another motion now for August?
Yes, because you made your first motion just for July.
Okay, there we go. I want to make a motion to approve the financial statements for August 2021.
I'll second.
Start with the cash statement. Any questions? For August, the check register. You're looking at me. I know, like you want to ask a question.
Passed that already.
No? Okay, this is easy. And then the income statement for August. Nothing?
Just this one. This is new. This prime.
So that is that replaces the total portfolio report that we used to get from PMA that had the
Oh,
graph on
yes,
it.
okay.
This is just a new way that they're showing it,
Okay.
so it's the same exact thing, it's just a different, they've redone the report.
I like the graph better.
Yeah,
I do too.
I do too, but that's what they send us now, so.
Yeah. Probably vote on August.
Okay, yep. All right. There we go. Pelletier, yes. Puzo?
Yes.
Jost?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mesa Jack?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, facilities. I don't think we have a facilities walkthrough, but I mean, this is the,
Around the time that we would do
Right.
that.
I know,
We've been
yeah,
walking
this
through,
is,
so.
right, this is our latest facility update, so we can, if there's anything you want to add to that, we can just chat about under staff reports,
Yeah.
but policy, I know you guys reviewed some last month. So next meeting for
The next policy committee meeting is October 1st. That's it's on my calendar, so I can leave that to Lana and Tamara.
Okay, staff reports, do you have anything to add or highlight?
Obviously, trustee Monzo's absence is missed. As I was putting the minutes together, I had that same thought as I was listening to the tape again. I was like, oh my gosh, and I'm trying to remember that was the best meeting. It happened so quickly. We're getting, I guess we can talk about this under the renovation update as well, but, we went back to the mass in the library, as I said in my report, feel like, kind of making changes on the fly is the new normal. So that's what we're doing. patrons have started to, we start to see an uptick in patrons in the building and that kind of thing. So things are just, just trying to settle into this new normal as much as possible. Like, does anyone have any questions about my report or any of the department reports?
It's nice to see the volunteer program resuscitated.
Yeah.
And there's so many new volunteers.
Yes, I have
Yes.
heard that there are a number of you that are anxious to be back working, doing some things in the library. So we're busily trying to find things for everyone to do.
Yeah.
So,
It was cool to read Courtney's report and just how positive it's been for them to kind of experience everyone coming into the new floor for the first time, seeing
Yeah.
their faces.
yeah, I mean, it's
gotta
an
be
adjustment
good.
for the department and stuff like that, certainly, but
Yeah.
I think, seeing the patron feedback has really been, I mean, it's so gratifying for all of us, obviously, that, for them to be down here, and, they had such a, you didn't notice how subpar the space was because the staff was so wonderful. But I
Yeah.
think, having a staff that kind of reflects how awesome, or having the department reflect how awesome the staff is now is great, so.
Yeah. How are the staff faring during this giant roller coaster that we just are living in? So-
It's hard sometimes, but most people are doing fine. I did, I had told everyone that starting September 7th, I made this decision back when, things were going in a positive direction, a good direction for COVID, not more cases, but fewer cases, right? That, I wanted staff back in the building September 7th because a lot of staff was still working from home and that kind of thing. And I kept that, and most people are okay with that. I mean, we're all wearing masks in our workspaces and stuff. So I think people are okay. There's a different energy when you're in the building as opposed to when you're working remotely. And I think that most of the staff really like that. I think the important thing, for me, and my staff knows this, I tell them this all the time and stuff, and I try not to say no to them for a lot of things, but, just remaining flexible, and the department managers know that, we're always willing to make accommodations when and if we have to for people, either, due to childcare issues or if, people have to quarantine, all those kinds of things. We have a few people that have school-age children, so, we're always trying to be sensitive to that, but, I think by and large the staff is coping pretty well. We'll see how it goes and, make adjustments as necessary, but I think, all of us want to get back to some semblance of normal, I think, while still being safe. We've been very fortunate. We haven't, most of the staff, as you guys know, is vaccinated. I think we're only 2 people that are not. We haven't had anyone with any breakthrough, infections or anything like that. So I feel like the protocols that we've put in place all along and that we still have in place are doing what they need to do. And, we all have mask fatigue, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, it's still nice enough to go outside and take your mask off for a while, but yeah, I feel like it's an adjustment. It's going to continue to be an adjustment, and, everyone copes a little bit differently with, constant and frequent change, but, we're doing what we can. So. It's good to have positive things, like, the renovation was really positive,
Yeah.
and, hearing a lot of the patron feedback from people is really positive, so I think that helps a lot.
Well, I mean, time and time again, I think they really just prove their adaptability and I mean, I think the patrons appreciate it, whether or not it's maybe articulated 20 times a day, or but it's, it's still been a lot of quality programming, just throughout everything. So,
yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that they've done such a tremendous job with that, and so.
Cheerios get still very hot.
It's amazing, the programs that they've done and that have been really successful. And, I've mentioned this before at other board meetings that, when we hear anecdotally from other, area libraries who have not been as successful with their programming, either online or things that they tried to do, like, outside programming and stuff. And, they're like, oh, is everyone, we can't, we're not getting any numbers. And Courtney says, she goes, I feel bad because every time I'm like, wow, we're doing really well.
Yeah.
But But we are, I mean, and you know,
Okay.
it speaks to the staff and the quality programs and the things that we're bringing in and, you know, responding to what the community seems to want to need, so. Yeah, so I mean, I'm, you know, so proud of them and I think they're doing a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just, you know, we'll continue to do that and see where we're at and, you know, tomorrow, next week, next month, who knows? Yeah. You know, as I said, I like change. I like it quite a bit, but I'm ready for things to be boring for a while. After everything that's gone on the past couple of years, so. I think I told, he was at the speaker, I don't remember who I told my husband, I said, I just want this to end so I can go, I said, I'm so tired of being an amateur epidemiologist. He goes, oh, so you're gonna leave your job and become a professional? No. I just want to be the library director of that.
Does anybody else have any other questions for Pam? Thank you to Karina for creating this, yes, you know,
Yeah, love those
so, yay.
Were there, on this facilities, there's some pumps that were installed, were they just new ones were installed because,
No, those were replacement motors for our old ones.
so that's for our, that wasn't part of the renovation?
Correct.
Okay.
We did a number of things, and I think you saw that when we talked about the renovation, Jason had included all of the kind of general maintenance things that we took care of during the renovation as well. And
Right,
this was one of those that we were able to take advantage while everything was all torn up, that we had that out.
Well, maybe they stopped working in the middle of a rainstorm or something.
No, they didn't do that,
Oh.
though we knew there was one pump that was problematic, so we wanted to replace it before it did stop working in the middle of a
Right,
rainstorm.
after-
After all this, we did not want the lower level to flood. Yeah.
That outdoor patio looks so much better.
I love it.
Yeah, and so, I mean,
It changed
literally,
everything.
we bought furniture from Menards. We took out 2 of those big evergreen bushes, and then there were some scraggly trees, and then Ed's been power washing it. That's all we've done.
It looks so
I know,
different.
it's,
You could have a whole class, like, you know.
It was cool how you did the video
Renovation
how
on a
the
budget.
furniture came into the
Oh, yeah.
Instagram. It's like, I was wondering how you did that.
yeah, there's the one couch for the quiet, we're calling it the care room here with a, you know, like if you have a screaming kid or you need to, you know, a place to pray or something. The couch is too big for the elevators or the stairs, and so they had to bring it over the patio to get it down here
Oh.
and into the room, yeah. So, yeah, so that was exciting, and I'm like, well, that's what you pay them for, so I'm gonna let them do it, and they figured it out, and then it was all fine, so, yeah.
All right. Make sure that anybody else has questions? All right, unfinished business, trustee interviews and appointment. Well, we have quite a few, which is awesome. We got 20 applications, which I know, I think there are left here, now this is amazing. We
Yeah.
don't usually get 20. In my time on the board, and Carla, you can speak more to this, in my time on the board for the, let's see, 1, 2, this has maybe been 4 times we've had to appoint someone, at least 3 or 4.
Well, at least 3.
At least 3.
Yeah.
We maybe get 4 or 5 applications,
Yes.
something like that, you know. So 20 is kind of unheard of. But it's really awesome. I mean, it's really positive. I hope that means that we're doing something right, and you know, that new service and renovation looks awesome, and maybe people want to be a part of it. So, so we will be reviewing those over in executive session. Is that just to kind of keep, just to begin that discussion?
So you might want to talk a little bit about the timeline then, but I think we
Yeah.
got, you guys have both applied, right? So, yeah.
So we have 2 open trustee positions. And as I said, we did get 20 applications. So what we're gonna do, we're going into executive session towards the end of this meeting, and then we're gonna, be talking about you behind your back kind of thing. But we're basically gonna have to go through all the applications we did receive. So the timeline, this is something that we'll decide whether we want to do a special meeting and invite people back for interviews, that kind of thing. But new appointed trustees will be seated either in the October or November meeting. So Pam would be the one to reach out to contact the people that are chosen. We are very grateful that we got so much interest, definitely, so thank you. And there were more than 2 quality applications, I'll say that, so, so this is gonna take some time for us, so it is, really, it's not a bad position to be in, so. So, by law, any appointed trustees serve until the next regular library election, and then, so if you've been appointed, then you're required to then run in that next consolidated election, which is April 4th, 2023. So, so just to kind of give you an idea, so if you're appointed, then you then have to kind of, you have to put in official paperwork, you are an elected official, run the consolidated election, and more than that could be discussed further, but yeah, so we're looking at appointing October or November, right around the time we'd be approving the budget and all that stuff. What else should I highlight?
So there won't be any interviews this evening?
Correct.
Because the board will be reviewing all of the candidate applications.
If we only had two applications, then we could totally.
Where you guys in?
You're in.
So, yeah. And the numbers kept coming in. 21, so, yeah. So we will be chatting about that more in executive session a little later. Lower level renovation. Are you still chatting with Jason?
Yeah, he still stops in occasionally, so kind of plan my day. He's chatty, it's fine. He's a lovely, lovely man. He's actually doing work up in Wilmette, so it's pretty convenient for him to pop in. And, he's probably here about once a week now, just checking on the few punch list items that are still
Well, I know you guys
outstanding.
got very close here.
And we talk a lot. The great thing about SMC too is that they really cultivate those relationships with their former, people that they've done work with and stuff. So I just feel so fortunate that we use them, and particularly having Jason here. But we'll always have that, that contact that if we need something, we can reach out to SMC. And so many, they know so many different trades and that kind of thing. So it really puts us in a good position that if there's something that we need assistance with, we can always reach out and say, hey, do you have a person for this, or is this something that you can do, or something like that. So we're still waiting on, like I said, there are still a few punch list items. There's not too many of them around anymore, but every so often there's like little pieces of blue painter's tape, which is still items that need to be addressed. I think right now the last kind of building thing we're really waiting on is there's some carpet that needs to be recut so it fits closer to the service desk. And then we're waiting for the fire extinguisher cabinets, we have a thing that will hide, but also protect this so that little people or big people don't run into it here. So we're waiting for that, and then
Furniture.
there is furniture that's still outstanding. The booths that go along the blue wall, there's 3 booths. The little reading nook that goes in the picture book room, a cushion that goes in the window area in the middle school area, and then some shelving, and then end panels. So the shelving probably won't be here for quite some time. Originally it was, I think, 6 to 8 weeks, and now it's 16 weeks. But I mean, that's the supply chain issues. I mean, there's not really anything we can do. I mean, that's what all of this is, the supply chain issues. So the booths and the cushion and the little reading nook thing in the picture book room, and the end panels are all from LFI.
Okay.
So we were originally given a mid-September date for those. Now it's been pushed back to end of September, so I don't have an exact date, but, you know, they continue to let us know, you know, if there's further delays, but I mean, you know, there's really not much anyone can do because it's, you know, it's just, again, supply chain issues,
Right.
so. So once the punch list items are complete and the project is completely closed out, then we get a big binder like we did for Carlotta Rivers with the first renovation, the main floor renovation. We get a big binder with all of the different, you know, what was done, the different trades that did that work, the warranties, anything like that. So, you know, he's pulling all that together and then he'll give that to us. And so again, he'll give us all that information that we have, that if something goes wrong, or again, because SNC is really good at this and they like to cultivate those relationships, we can always reach out to them at any time, even once those warranties have expired. So, so I feel really, like I said, I think we're fortunate that we ended up going to them.
Yeah.
Just really well worth the money spent. I mean, you know, when we look at everything that we did extra and we're able to do because we had a really great construction management firm and a really great project manager. So yes, I'm just
Yeah.
for those last few things, but
And I know that you initially wanted to do, you know, grand opening or celebration or whatever.
Yeah.
Is your plan to kind of wait until?
you know, I mean, I didn't want to wait for all the furniture to get here to, you know, I wasn't going to keep the department closed for months just waiting on a few pieces of furniture, so we couldn't do that. So, you know, originally I was thinking we would do some kind of grand reopening celebration sometime in September. Hopefully we could still do that. I haven't decided on a day. I think at some point it'd be nice if more, like the booths, I'm really looking forward to the booths. But, or the end panels was kind of that was what I was waiting for, but we'll have to see. If that gets pushed back any further, I think we would just do some kind of celebration just to, you know, I mean, I know a lot of people have been down in the space, but to, you know, to invite, you know, other community that are, you know, other community leaders and the architects back and, you know, and Shales McNutt and that kind of thing, to have them come and do something. Though I'm kind of like, I don't know that I want to have, first of all, I'm not allowing any eating in the library right now, but I'm like, I don't know that I want cake and punch and stuff on my brand new carpet. but I'll get over that, so we'll do something, but yeah, so I think I probably within the next week or so will make a final decision about setting a date for that, and then we'll just announce it on social media and stuff, so, yeah. Yeah, just, I mean, it's crazy times, so kind of had to roll with the punches a little bit, but, yeah, that's where we're at.
All right.
So I did, the pay packets are in here, this is the final pay packet, the August one, so you're approving two. But we did actually complete the project $15,000 under budget. So I think given everything that we did and how many change orders we had throughout this whole project is amazing. Again, you know, kudos to Shales McNutt and the architects for, you know, getting us across the finish line with money to spare, if you will. So that's the final budget that we've got here that Jason has prepared for us, so you can see that they came in $15,000 under. And then also I included a complete list of all of the operations or maintenance, like regular building maintenance items that we were able to take care of throughout the renovation process, that it made more sense to do those things then, again, while everything
When I was looking at it, I didn't realize there were,
there was a lot of things.
There was a lot of things. I mean, you know, that removing the incinerator. I mean, I remember some of the big ones, but you know.
Yeah, and the never-ending asbestos abatement. That was so frustrating, just being told, oh, the asbestos is all gone, and then, you know, sure enough, well, the asbestos isn't all gone. But anyway, it's all fine. And we did put money from the operations budget towards those things, but again, it just made a lot of sense to take care of those things when we could, and it saved us money in the long run for those items. So those two other pieces of paper are the final budget, and then the complete list of all of the other things that we took care of that would have just been normal operation.
So what we're waiting for is in this budget, I mean, in this final.
Yeah, everything is yeah.
Okay.
So there may still be outstanding bills, like, you know, these last two pay packets. We have a couple of outstanding furniture invoices, but that's all reflected in
That's
here.
all in here,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's just that just the bill paying cycle. So you may see another couple bills from particularly furniture and stuff because they don't usually send the final bill until the furniture's been delivered. So now that we've gotten some of the bigger orders have been completed from a couple of the furniture vendors that we're using, you'll see a couple of those come through.
Oh, okay, okay.
But those have all been reflected in this. Because actually the furniture, I don't have the original budget projections here right now, but if you look down at the budget one, furniture is in that lower part.
Yeah, I saw
And
that,
that
and that's
actually-
why I was,
And our furniture costs actually did come in about $51,000 less than we had originally planned for.
Really?
Yeah, so, yeah. But yeah, this is the final budget, and though you may still see some of those outstanding bills.
Do you want us to approve these packets separately?
You can. Either one.
Let me make sure I have the dates right. That's July, that's August. Okay. I'll
Today's
make-
only writing.
I know.
I'll make a motion to approve the S&C pay packet for July 2021 in the amount of $122,785.63.
I'll second.
Okay.
Who's up?
Yes.
Jost?
Yes.
Mr. Jack?
Yes.
Pelletier, yes? Oh, I missed you, I'm sorry, Gonzalez.
yes. I mean, I wasn't hearing anymore.
sorry. Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve the S&C pay packet for August 2021 in the amount of $102,022.54. I am not accustomed to seeing those amounts in my everyday life, so.
I will second it.
Jost?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Jack? Pelletier, yes? Who's
Yes.
We touched on the final budget too, which
Yep.
is great. So no, that's perfect. New business. So was this,
So this policy has changed very little. I included both the track changes, which, so you can see
Oh, I see.
the two things that I did, and then the second page is the final, the cleaned up version. So my apologies for not making it more clear in your packets. Basically, this is changing just because now we've got the middle school collection down here. So we used to only serve through 6th grade, so that was, we cut computer use off at 12, and now we serve through 8th grade, so we've raised that. And so we've changed that, and so it indicates through 8th grade rather than an age limit. So that was just a change because of, now we'll be in the middle school collection down here. So. And Courtney and I discussed it, and we thought we wanted to get this officially approved without waiting much longer, because we were already seeing kids down here, so we didn't want to wait till the October meeting to make these changes. That makes sense. So.
I'll make a motion to approve the computer and technology use policy.
I'll second that, but, can we talk about
Yeah.
one little change?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Where it says youth computer, I think it should be a youth services computer.
I can change that.
After we make the motion, actually, is the perfect time to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I will add the, I'll make it so it says youth services computers, and then I.
Where are you when you say that?
So that's the first bullet point under youth computers.
It's the heading, it
Oh.
says youth computers.
Got it.
And then there's the.
And then for youth.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we'll approve that,
Yes,
policy as amended.
Okay, vote on there. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mesa Jack?
Yes.
Pelletier, yes? Kuzo?
Yes.
Jost?
Yes.
Okay. Now we have the 2022 first budget, first reading of that.
Good job on all your notes, as always, very.
Yeah, your notes
appreciated.
are always so helpful. Thank you for doing it line by line. I know it's probably does not take you, it takes you more than a few minutes, so, but
It does.
It's very,
It's okay.
you know, we definitely appreciate the notes, so.
It's helpful for us as well to work through, you know, especially with Suzanne being doing stuff, that to really look at, you know, what comes out of each of those lines, and does it continue to make sense that we're taking different things out of those lines. So it is worth it to do. So I'm happy to go through it as I've done in the past. If that's what the board wants me to do. I will say that I didn't give you any other options in terms of voting for, because I was able to keep the levy amount flat again this for next year. I was really pleased about that, and I think, you know, for us to show to the board that we're being careful with the taxpayer monies, but then also to show, and then let the village know as well, and then the taxpayers as well, that, you know, we're being careful with the monies that we're getting, and we're doing what we hope is good things with it, and still, you know, able to do the amazing things that the staff does while you know, not costing the community more and more money every single year. So I just presented a flat levy request, and yeah, I mean, I'm happy to go through. Revenues, I think, you know, I mean, it's always difficult to say what's going to happen for sure. I mean, we've seen that certainly the past couple of years, that can dramatically change how monies come in. Though I feel pretty confident that, you know, the tax monies will come in the way that we expect, and the replacement tax monies, per capita grant money, as I mentioned, the actual per capita amount has, the legislature voted last year to raise that. So going forward, we'll get about $5,000 more than we have been getting. So I believe that should stay. You know, I fully believe we'll get that. Things like vending and book sale receipts just depends on how many people are in the building. Vending, I would like to be able to open up the vending machine again in spring. It was a nice way to you know, amass. We have the best deal in town, but it was amazing how quickly, you know, those dollar, you know, cans of Coke can add up. And so I'd like to be able to open it up in spring of 2022. We'll just have to see how things go. So I feel pretty confident about the revenues. Expenses, as I said, the salary line is more than this year. Partially because I want to complete, as I said in my notes, the compensation project increases that we started in 2019, 2020, to get people, you know, to where they should be appropriately compensated and to keep us competitive with area libraries. I think that was important. And then also refilling some of the positions that, you know, when people left, we didn't fill them during the pandemic, so there's a couple of those positions that we will refill, and then the creation of one position that would be in, well, the creation of an additional adult services associate position and then a marketing associate as well. So, but again, even with the increase in people's wages, with the, you know, refilling of those empty positions, we've been able to accommodate that within the budget. So, and obviously the increases in salaries, you know, means increases in FICA and some IMRF, though actually IMRF costs are lower than they were because the IMRF employer rate has gone down. Any questions about salaries? Unemployment, as you may know, the library does not pay unemployment tax. We have chosen to be a reimbursable. We do reimbursable unemployment, which means that if someone does file unemployment, we pay whatever the Illinois Department of Employment and Security pays that. So we typically don't see a lot of unemployment. We have during the pandemic because they did eliminate the computer assistant positions because of the movement of the computer room not being open and then the movement of the computer room. but I do keep just a small amount in there just in case, but I don't anticipate firing anyone or those kinds of things that would normally cost us on employment costs. So, retirement, again, I think all of you have been through this a couple times now. The library does participate in 2 different retirement plans. The MERF plan, which is the Municipal Employment Retirement Fund, I think it's for. Again, it was the old one that the village and the library used, does not allow any new members since 2005, but we still have to pay into it because we have one active employee that still gets it, and we do have people that have retired that still get payments. That's an annual recommended contribution. I haven't gotten it yet for this year, but based on previous years and as of, previous years and as it's gone down, as fewer people have participated, as I said, I estimate about $162,000 for that. And then IMRF, the rate did go down. So while we did have more people in IMRF, it's still lower than it has been because of the rate drop. So the employee rate for IMRF always stays the same, but the employer rate changes depending on returns on investments and other things. So we get that directly from IMRF. We don't have any say over that. And anyone that works over 1,000 hours a year regularly, which averages out to anything over 19.75 hours a week, is enrolled in IMRF. We are required by law to do that. We have no option. They can't choose not to participate. So we do have a couple extra people that are moving into that position. But again, because of the drop in the employer rate, we should still be fine with that. Health insurance for 2022, the rates did go up fairly significantly, over 6%. However, as I explained, when putting together the budget, I always have to budget for all eligible employees receiving health insurance. Though in practice, we have a relatively large group of offices. We have 6 people right now this year that don't take our insurance because they get it through a spouse or through another mechanism. So in practice, health insurance costs probably won't be that much, but I have to plan for if everyone is going to take, the highest cost of insurance because I would be remiss in not doing that because if someone comes to me and, they all say, all of our spouses of this group of people have lost their jobs or whatever, and we need insurance through the library, I would have to, fund that. As I also said in the notes that I can hold the employee costs flat again this year. Employees pay $30 a month, which is a pretty good deal for a health insurance, for a very good health insurance plan. I will be looking over the next year at the model of how we fund health insurance and as well as the employer contribution, just because particularly if it continues to go up in this manner, it just gets really expensive, but we'll have to see because that changes every year. But when I talk about changing the model of how we fund health insurance, right now we pay nothing towards any family or spousal coverage or anything like that. And so I've been toying with, do we look at, paying percentages of things rather than the straight dollar amount that can go towards, if you want to have family coverage or whatever. So just looking at how all those things shake out in terms of what it costs the library and what it costs the staff as well. But for this year, I believe that we can keep it flat again for employee costs and again with without negatively affecting the budget.
But we have our own health insurance. We're not in with the village.
We are not in with the village for health insurance. We are in with, the Wellness Insurance Network, WIN. And so that is a consortium of, I don't even know how many libraries, but it's a bunch of libraries. Right? So we're in a larger group, but we are not part of the village's health
I was
insurance.
just wondering. Yep. Didn't think we were, but
Pam, if the
I
costs,
asked every year. It's like, okay.
Yeah, no problem.
if the costs are increasing by 6% and we know that, why wouldn't we charge 6% more?
Because we want to retain good employees and we're able to keep the cost of the employee relatively low while still staying within our budget without negatively affecting other budget lines.
I'm just curious.
I also-
because,
it's also-
$30 a month is low.
It is low, but I also don't, part of it is also that I'm trying to get people's salaries up to a more appropriate level for their education level, their experience. And so, you know, we're comfortable with the area library, so we remain competitive. What I'm reluctant to do, not sometimes, but what I'm reluctant to do is say, okay, I'm going to give you this raise because, you know, A, you've done a great job and, you know, I want to get your salary a little bit more in line with where it should be, but I'm going to turn around, I'm going to take it all away by raising your insurance costs. So if I don't have to do that, I would prefer not to. And though the staff knows that you know, this is always something that I'm looking at, and every year there is a possibility that could go up. But I did look at those numbers for this year, and it was something that I anticipated having to raise. But once I got through the whole budget and I was able to see that I was able to keep it flat, then I wanted to be able to do that for our employees.
I think that would be a positive to flag out to.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm planning on doing at the end of this year, remind me of this, I'm going to make Suzanne tell me, is for those employees that are eligible for health insurance and IMRF and those kinds of things, is to give them a total compensation report so that they understand how much it costs the library to keep them employed or to have them employed. I mean, not as a, you know, look how much money I'm spending on you, but so that they have a better understanding of those costs, and as we talk about what that looks like next year or the year after, whatever, that they understand that those are some of the hard decisions that we have to make, that I have to make as a director, or that the board would have to make as a board. So.
That makes sense.
Any other questions about health insurance? So the FSA EDC fees, that's our flex spending perk that we allow employees to use, so that's just the cost of what participation in the program. There's a small administrative cost to the library to participate, and then all other monies are taken out of the employee check. So then long-term disability and life insurance, those long-term disability insurance has actually been eliminated, and I probably should have caught this in earlier years, but we didn't need to keep separate long-term disability because disability is paid through IMRF, so we've eliminated that this year. And then it wasn't a huge amount, but you know, every little bit can help when we're looking at a budget that's primarily funded from people's property taxes. And then life insurance did go up slightly because we're now getting our life insurance through WIN, where we get our health insurance, because we were also able then to get an employee assistance program, which we did not have before. So that's a nice perk, and I thought, especially given the, you know, that it's been a difficult couple of years, and to give employees that other, you know, for a small fee, they're getting their life insurance, and then they can also get access to the employee assistance program if anyone needs help. So those numbers did go up a little bit, and that's what's reflected is the actual cost of those two programs, or that program. Any questions about that? Okay. So we move on to collections. The numbers that you see on the budget are the numbers that have been requested by the department managers. So I've been able to accommodate almost all of the department manager requests in the budget as well. So, you know, these are not, I have not asked them to, for example, and for the adult folks, I did not ask them to, you know, give me $5,000 less, that kind of thing. So those are numbers based on actual purchases and, you know, what they anticipate spending. As we know, I mean, the library's pretty full, and so we are very much in both departments, on both floors, you know, pretty close to one book out, one book in, one book out. I mean, not exactly, but I mean, there's not, you know, we're constantly that kind of analyze the analysis of collections, and you know, do we have to do more reading and those kinds of things to make room for new books and stuff. So these numbers are, you know, like I said, exactly what the department managers have asked for, and I think are a more accurate reflection of where we've been spending our money. So, and that's true up through, actually that entire up through programs actually are the numbers that have been requested by the department managers. Probably The programming numbers, as my notes indicated for adult, they do want to potentially do another One Book, One Village program again next year. So see how this one goes and see what happens. And we've been doing a lot of partnering with other libraries to bring in, bigger name authors, either via Zoom or whatever. And so we're spending some of those monies on those kinds of programs. So we anticipate those have been big draws, and I think they've been a real positive for the community. So we'll see that. I do anticipate not next year, but what we'll see in 2023. That's coming up soon. I know, crazy. That the youth services program budget probably will go up because Courtney has kept that flat for the past couple of years, and they do such an amazing job in so many programs. And but for this year, Courtney indicated that she thought that this was enough. And certainly, we always have the option as the year goes on if we have to, pass a resolution to change. We move monies around in the budget lines and stuff like that. We'll do that, and we'll continue to take a look at that. But again, Courtney's really good at kind of keeping within that, so I anticipate that she'll be fine with that. So grants, the age option grants is it's a federal grant that we get to provide programming and technology for seniors. So they seem to have a fair amount of money that they really want to give away. So we pretty regularly now for the past few years have gotten $7,500. So we're anticipating getting that amount again next year. So.
But have we gotten it this year?
We got some of it. Yes, we've prepaid some data costs for hotspots, so for T-Mobile, so we prepaid that. We've gotten some of the funds because we purchased some chairs for doing senior programming out on the lawn, some different things like that. So we did get some of that. I think we're still waiting for another payment. But we anticipate that this will continue.
Oh, you don't get it in one?
It depends on how it comes through. So
okay.
it varies. It's been an interesting program. The first year we got $12,000, and I think that was 3 years ago. And then since then, we've gotten $7,500 each. And sometimes it just kind of depends on when they send it to us.
I thought maybe you got just one, big lump sum.
We have gotten it in a lump sum in the past. I don't think we did this year.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, and so then the photocopier, that's the actual contractual cost of the photocopier, which includes not paper, but all of the toner. So, and that can be a fair amount. So, copiers are insanely expensive. Toner is insanely expensive. It's nice though having a service that does this because everything is on their network, and so they take automatic readings every month, and when things are low, right, the system just knows when we just get shipments of the toner, so we don't have to worry about, oh, we're out of toner, and now we're sitting there copying she doesn't work for 2 days and those kinds of things. So there were some trade-offs to that, but I mean, this is a little bit more than we had spent on copiers in the past several years, but the past couple of years it's been really good. And like I said, when we looked at all of the numbers, when we changed copier, because we have owned some copiers when we went with this service, when I looked at all of the actual numbers, when I factored in, we were purchasing toner from, Quill or whomever, right? And then once you start adding all those things up, this still actually ended up being less money. It's just that they were in different budget lines, so you didn't see everything expressed in the same way. Automation is significantly higher than it was this year. I think to better reflect some of the purchases that kind of got lost in everything, and a few of the changes that we've made, also based on the wise renovation. But the other thing was that up until we went with OSG, we had very much kind of cobbled together all of the technology and automation, and that has been problematic over the years. And so one of the things that I'm looking at is the development of a technology plan, but it's the planned replacement of 10 to 12 computers every year, so that we are staying consistently current, so that we're better able to do our jobs, and that we're better able to serve the patrons, and so that we don't have old computers that aren't working on different things. And so there's some, we're not having to do pay a person or a service to come out and fix something because we know that we're going to have, updated and upgraded computers. So this increased budget line includes that kind of first round of that, the planned replacement and, of, like I said, 10 to 12 computers.
Are we still, we're okay with OSG?
We are.
Okay.
I do anticipate that, a couple things, this is higher than it has been, but I don't anticipate that we'll spend it all, probably because OSG has recently redone their pricing structure, so I think our monthly costs, our hassle-free costs, will probably go down based on a couple of factors, and so it will be more reflective of how much we're actually using the service rather than more of that straight fee that we're doing right now. So, I'm still waiting to get that because Brian is our rep in the process of redoing our contract, so I can see all those numbers. So I believe that I've been very happy with them. They've been super responsive.
Want to make sure that
Really helpful throughout the whole renovation process, even with things that they don't kind of officially do, like with the phone system and stuff like that. I mean, they were very helpful with a lot of things. Just their general knowledge, and so that was helpful for us. So I've been, I continue to be very happy with them. Databases, again, those are the amounts that are requested for the adult and the YS databases. Those are the amounts requested by the department managers. The databases and the software as a service, the staff support ones, that is significantly higher because for the first time, I've taken all of the staff support databases that were in various other department budgets and put them onto this one line. So for example, Chad had 2 or 3 things listed in marketing, Courtney had something listed in hers, Melissa had something listed for adults. So I've pulled all of those things together and it'll now come out of this line. So at the notes, you can see all of the various staff support databases and kind of what they do, what departments we're using them for. Web maintenance and improvements is significantly lower. The cost for next year, or the budget line for next year, is that a more accurate reflection of the actual costs. So we only pay about, well, as I said, $2,450 for the annual hosting of the website itself, and then the calendar, and then any extra work that we want them to do is $175 an hour. But we've had, I can't tell you the last time we've had to work with Library Market to have them make changes on our website that was billable hours like that. So Chad and Karina do most of the back-end website stuff, and they're awesome. And Library Market is great, and as I think I've mentioned to you and shown you guys as well, that they love our site, and they use the Morton Road Public Library website to market their service and their product all over the place. So, or people will like email us going, we're talking to Library Market, and we love your site, and how do you do this, and that kind of thing. So,
and we don't get a kickback.
yeah, right. The first time I noticed it, we were at, I think it was when I was at PLA, and whatever, it's like time to show me, whenever, yeah, so, and then, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at their table, because I wanted to go over and say hi, and I'm like, that's our website on this glossy piece of marketing, and I'm like, what? So I mean, and kudos to Karina for doing that. She does a lot of that front page design and stuff. So
Yeah, she's awesome.
So yes, we're really fortunate with that. But so that's more of our actual cost for that. CCS is the cost to participate in the consortium. As I mentioned in my notes, it's a little bit higher next year than it is this year, simply because our OCLC costs have gone up, and it has something to do with the number of records in the catalog. So still a good deal, and I think since we joined, sorry, my nose is running a little bit underneath my nose. Since we joined CCS in the beginning of 2019, I think that there was like, I don't know, 22 libraries or whatever, but something like 4 or 5 libraries have joined since we joined.
Oh, really?
So we started a cascade of people. So right there is now 28 libraries that are in CCS. But I think that it's been a huge boon to our patrons. I mean, I'm a big proponent of consortia, so this was this was a big thing I wanted to do, was to join CCS, and then this was the other big thing to do. So I feel tired now. No. I'm not tired. But, yeah, so that's just the CCS costs, and that, you know, is basically what they charge us to be in the consortium. Any questions about that? So building maintenance, I bumped up a little bit. As I said in my notes, we are looking at, this is general maintenance for the building, but we're also looking at this year. It's been a few years actually. So, excuse me, I'm sorry. We haven't done any painting outside the building. I think the last time we did was when I was here the first time, so maybe in 2012.
I know.
And, you know, and then this past winter too, especially on the east side of the building, we had gutters off. I mean, the gutters have been fixed now, but it still looks awful on this side. So, you know, to have the inside be so nice, I'm like, oh, now we have to do the outside. So, so we're looking at outside painting, replacement of the gutters, maybe with some maintenance-free. We're looking at getting pricing, and then potentially, probably we will want to reseal the parking lot directly behind the building after, you know, it's gotten some wear and tear since the dumpster and the
Right.
construction vehicles.
It's something we own, not.
Yeah, the stuff that we
not-
rent, not the stuff that,
Okay.
I mean, St. Martha's finally did there, so that's been great. But yeah, just the lot around the library, we'll probably redo that. Construction in progress, one of the nice things about putting a lot of money into that line in previous years to pay for the renovation is to give us some wiggle room. Again, that's more of a line for special projects, things that are not specifically budgeted for in other areas. As I mentioned in the notes, it could either supplement some of those costs, like outside painting and you know, depending on what those costs come in as, or if we decide to go with a more expensive option, like Ed and I are really looking at trying to do maintenance-free gutters or maintenance-free, you know, shutters and all of those kinds of things. So there'll be a higher cost up front, but over time it will cost us less. So, you know, we may have to supplement some of those funds out of this line. And then also I've looked at, I would eventually like to redo the front porch because there's a lot of cracks in that. Concrete is expensive to replace. And I'd love to replace the railings on the ramp in the front and on the porch. Railings are insanely expensive. We got some pricing actually during the renovation because we replaced the railings out back. And we thought, well, let's see what it is to do the ones in the front. And it's like $25,000. Jesus. I mean,
Just for the
yeah.
front?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, is it wrought iron?
No, well, they're wrought iron now. We would replace them with steel probably, so that they would let. We would replace them with something similar that's out back.
Up here. Okay.
Yeah, that's now at the staff entrance and then the two emergency exits in the back.
Right. Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it is insanely expensive.
Yeah.
So I know even when we replaced the ones on the staff entrance, I think even those were like $13,000. So that kind of thing, and then obviously then like any special services things that come up during the course of the year that we may have to address. It's nice to have the funds to pay for those things. So that's what that line is. That would be the line that if there's any other changes that I make to the rest of the budget that I've got the most wiggle room in. So if I had to bump up the budget line in some other area, I would be able to subtract it from that to keep everything equal and to not have to raise the levy at all. Equipment and machinery maintenance. This is more the payment of maintenance on our system, so HVAC, sprinkler, those kinds of things, or if we had to purchase new equipment or replace the sump pumps, for example, that kind of thing comes out of this budget line. So that $50,000 has usually been okay for that amount, because we don't typically add more systems, right? So, and the building is the building, and we've made the changes that we've needed, or that we've made as many changes as we could when we were redoing the YS department. I mean, it would be great to like change the complete HVAC system, because as you know, we've got 500 HVAC units on the top of the roof. We do actually have 11, which is insane, but it is what it is. And so, yeah. So someday, when I have nothing else to spend the library budget on, we'll replace the entire HVAC system. But that's not going to be next year. Furniture acquisition, I did bump that up, as I mentioned in my notes. Most of the furniture acquisition this year did come out of the construction and purpose budget and the renovation budget. But next year we're looking at, everyone keeps telling me that it's okay to get actual functional furniture for the director office, so I may do that. since I've been using cobbled together pieces for years now. And then we are looking at maybe making some adjustments to the Info West desk and making some of those changes, and then just to cover other furniture purchases. Utilities, again, I just factored in a 5% increase. So that usually has been more than enough as we look at that budget line. The insurance, this is the facilities insurance, and this is the actual cost of the insurance that we've got. So those lines stay pretty much the same. Library supplies have gone up just a little bit. You will note that in 2020 or 2021, we had a fairly hefty COVID-19 supply budget line. We're still keeping that, but I'm only putting $1,000 into that. The library supplies line reflects all the supplies that circulation needs for library cards and just, receipts for, things you check out, all that kind of stuff, and then technical services supplies for processing of materials, and then also, includes any general purchases, general office supply kinds of purchases, so. And again, the department managers have included those supply requests when they know them in their, for like specific departmental requests in their budget requests, and so those have been accommodated in here as well.
Well, the COVID stuff do we get reimbursed?
We did, but we got the CARES Act money. We got $19,000 for the money that we spent in 2020 for COVID supplies, because that was when we put up a lot of the barriers. We were, cleaning things like crazy, and masks and hand sanitizer and, wipes, all these different kinds of things. So we got reimbursed for that for 2020. We have not received any reimbursements for 2021. A lot of the COVID supply purchases have dropped off. Mostly what we're doing right now, quite frankly, is masks. It's probably the big one that we're spending COVID supply money on.
But we're not applying for the...
There's nothing to apply for any longer.
Oh,
so, yeah. So a lot of those programs have ended, so, or that we're not eligible for. And like I said, our significant COVID-19 supply purchases came in 2020, and it was nice.
Well, yeah, I know that,
reimbursed.
through the CARES thing, but I thought it was, you'd still be able...
The schools have been able to get a lot, but they have not made it available to municipalities and libraries and other institutions the way that they did in 2020.
Oh, that's what I wanted to hear.
Telephone is over, but it will probably be over budget this year because we did have to buy out our contract on our old telephones, but you can see that going forward, we're saving $6,000 a year. So that's the new system, which have worked out pretty well. The biggest issue with the new phones is that the speakers are not as loud on the old phones, so for paging. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to handle that going forward, but that's not so much of an issue, and it's certainly nothing that would have precluded us from getting the new system, which we pretty much had to do during renovation, which was unplanned, but it ended up being into our favor. Postage, again, this is the actual newsletter postage, and then other general mailings. So we try to include some anticipated increase. Of course, one never knows what the post office is going to actually do, so these things can oftentimes just, I don't want to say, but in some, they're estimates instead of guesses. But printing is the amount that is for the newsletter. We are back to 6 in print newsletters again, but it also includes name badges when we get new employees, other promotional printing if we have to do something particularly that's outside of the library. They'll be doing a lot of in-house stuff, but there's supplies and stuff associated with that. Promotions and publicity has gone down, but a lot of that is because I have taken out some of those staff support databases that marketing was using to do the emails and some of those kinds of things. So as I mentioned in my notes, that this line includes not only the specific requests from the marketing and engagements department, but also we partnered with 5 other libraries to provide books to area hospitals. So that's the $1,000 in the early literacy money. So that is something that we do every year. And then just other monies for general promotional items. And This was a number that I just kind of, we have not yet heard back from the village, but we're trying to work with them on doing some kind of new resident packets, and so we'd like to work with them on that. So we did set some monies aside for that, though I really don't know how much that could potentially be, but we've not been able to connect with them regarding that. But that line does include all those things. Meals, recreation, and recognition, I did raise a little bit. Oh, I did write it notes there. So I bumped this up a little bit to reflect what I thought would be more accurate costs in terms of staff recognition events. In the past, we have taken money for staff training out of this line as well, but I have changed that for next year. So this line is mainly things like staff recognition and meals, if there's anything like that. And then training actually comes out of continuing education and meetings for next year. So I did change those two things. And I did bump up the continuing education and meetings. A lot of conferences in the past couple of, so all the conferences in the past 2 years have been online and virtual. Online and virtual, the same thing, so my apologies. It's been a long day, I've been here since 10. But as far as I know right now, the Public Library Association meets every 2 years. I went to Nashville a couple years ago in 2020, the last big conference before the world changed. It really was. It was weird to think back because I mean, they're like at the convention center in Nashville, they were already starting to put out like hand sanitizer. You hear little inklings about, oh, what about this? Over there, they're all kind of in our own little conference days, and then we come home and it's like, oh my God. So, PLA in 2022, it's every 2 years, is important. We have not heard that it's not in person. I have had a couple of requests for people to go. We'll see if that happens. And then, you know, anything that's in person, those things are, you know, we include some travel, and that you know, would be more than the virtual conferences that we've had the past couple of years. So. But that also, not only the conferences, but, you know, ILA, Lacona, you know, both, anything from local conference or local meeting attendance on up. So. Memberships has gone up quite a bit. We are going to be over in 2021. A lot of that is because to take advantage of a lot of the online trainings, people had to join certain organizations, and for most of the stuff, historically, we've only done that usually for professional librarians, but, and then they could only do one, like you could join ILA or ALA or whatever, then the library would pay for that, but because so much of so much professional development was now online, we had to, you know, have people join those other organizations, and, you know, as new trustees come on as well, you know, pay for their participation in those memberships as well. Professional services and consultant services, we've normally kept those separate, and there's been a lot of confusion about what comes out of each of those lines. And they're very fuzzy, so we just combined them for 2022. So that includes everything that I've outlined here: payroll service, audit.
Is that the lawyer?
Right, so we would pay, so out of this would come payroll services, our HR source for our human resources assistants memberships, actuarial and accounting fees outside of the audit expenses, because we have a separate audit line for that. So like the assistants at Signature has been given us with preparing the monthly reports and those kinds of things. Right. And then as you may remember, so the village and the library used to use the same auditor, so we used to both use Signature. The village does not use Signature any longer, so some of the reports that, actually let me take a step back, I'm jumping ahead. For the MRF plan, for the retirement plan, we have to, there's an actuarial fee that's associated with that, so that fee would come out of here as well. So, and then it would be, if there was attorney's fees or potential consultant fees, like for if we do a strategic plan consultant next year, that kind of thing, I did make a typo on the notes, so my apologies, it was a line that I did not remove. This does not include fees for Volgistics, which is the volunteer management software. That is going to come out of that staff support database. You can just remove that. So that was my apologies, and I'll update that for the final notes in October. So going forward, we're just combining those two. We think it eliminates some of that fuzziness, and instead of you trying to go back and what did we take out of this year? What does it make sense? That kind of thing. So I think probably when those two lines were put into place a number of years ago, that made more sense, but because it doesn't as much anymore. Miscellaneous fees, this is kind of, there's nowhere else to take someone or pay for something out of it. So as you can see, it's fairly nominal. It's only $1,500, so it's a slight increase from this year. Vending, as I said, right now it remains closed. I do hope to open it again soon, so when we open it, the library pays for all its own vending stock, so that's what that budget line is for. And then mileage, again, there's still a number, there's some meetings that we're going to in person, still not many, a lot of them are virtual, and I anticipate that will continue even no matter what happens with the pandemic, because I think one of the things that we've seen is that it's much easier to attend, right? I mean, it's harder for me to say, okay, I have to plan my whole day around, going to, so for example, I actually had to do this yesterday because I'm the president of CCS this year, but like the CCS meeting I was at yesterday morning, the meeting itself lasted 25 minutes. So like if I for everyone else, it was nice for them to not be able to have to drive to the CCS offices in Arlington Heights from all the different libraries, and then turn around and go home, right? So I mean, there's been a lot of meetings like that they just have seen greater attendance because it's easier for people to take that hour and a half for the actual meeting as opposed to factoring all the travel time. So I had to factor in the travel time because I had to send checks, but that's okay. So there's less in mileage for next year because I think that we're going to still see a lot of those virtual meetings taking place. Collection fees, as I said, that's monies that we pay to other libraries for lost materials, either received via CCS or outside of the system, and that's just the cost of being in a consortium kind of thing. So FICA, as I mentioned earlier when we talked about salaries, because salaries are a little bit higher, FICA is going to be higher as well. And then the audit is a separate line. So this includes the monies that we pay to Sickage, our actual auditor, and then to the actuary who works with the village. So as I started to say before, when the village and the library used the same auditor, Sickage did a lot of that work that we didn't have to pay for. So now because there is a separate firm that does some of that actual work for the auditor, we do have to get a separate contract with them. And then the past couple of years, we have not seen anything in this loan in the principal and interest and fiscal charges, but we will start to see those. We've started to see them a little bit this year, and then next year, the amount that I've budgeted and that you see on the budget includes both the principal and the interest. As per my calculations, I have reached out to the bank to make sure that those are the correct calculations. I believe they are. And then, but next year when you start seeing the monthly income statements, you will see those two lines expressed separately. You'll see a principal line, and then you'll see what we pay for interest. The auditor has, when we had the line of credit loan for the 2015 renovation, that is how the auditor likes to see those dollars expressed.
So what was the line of credit to begin? I asked you 2,000 times and I forget.
So our line of credit, we agreed, we could borrow up to $800,000. Our final line of credit will be $747. $747,413.13. So, because that was the last, you guys have approved the last payment.
Okay. That's what I didn't know if we went over.
We did not go over. So, yeah. So that is the first reading of the budget.
Well done, Pam.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it?
As
Very pleased that you were able to maintain that letter.
I was glad about that. I'm happy to answer any other additional questions, or if anyone feels strongly that I need to look at other numbers or make additional changes, let me know now, so I can incorporate those. I feel very comfortable with this, and I feel very comfortable, and I was, like I said, very pleased that we were able to keep the levy flat. I think that, shows the residents of Martin Grove that we're really being careful with taxpayer money, and while still working hard to make sure we're providing people with services and programs and collections that they want. So,
Can I just go back to Sickage real quick?
yep, which
So
one?
the village doesn't use Sickage anymore.
Not
Would
for
it-
their audit.
Would it make financial sense for us to go with who the village uses? or Any savings involved?
I don't think so. I think that this, because the services that company provides, we would probably still have to sign two contractual, we'd probably have to sign two separate contracts, so I don't know that we would save any money. So,
I know we have a relationship with Sickage, they know how everything works, that helps us too.
yeah, I mean, if we wanted to, I will be quite honest, my time is not worth nothing, and the time to change auditors it's a lot. And we can, we can certainly have that discussion and look into that. I think we might have one more year on our Sickage contract, so I'll have to look at that. But I don't think that we would achieve a significant savings by switching. I'm also not a big fan of the current firm that the village uses, but that's just, just my experience with them has not been as positive. Both working with them in the capacity that we've had to, and then also at other places I've been, I have not worked as well with them, with the current firm that the village uses as I have with the village. So.
It seems like it's a good firm to work with.
They are. They are. We always want to make sure that, there is some benefit to looking at other firms so that you make sure that you're continually making sure that you're getting the right costs and stuff like that. But Sickage has been pretty competitive for us over the past few years. And again, knows our systems really well and has been very responsive when we've had questions and stuff like that.
Any other questions on that?
Yeah, so obviously this is the first reading. Second reading is October. Usually we have to get the budget to the village by early November so they can include it in their budget readings. So, I anticipate I'll make a few tweaks and a couple of department managers have said, oh, I forgot this or whatever. So I'll be making a few just relatively minor tweaks, but in general, if the board is comfortable with this overall, then.
It looks good. And agreed. Thank you for your work with that. All right. So, next. I'll make a motion to go into executive session for the selection of a person for a public office, including a vacancy in a public office where the public body is given power to appoint under law or ordinance as allowed per 5 ILCS 120C3.
Second.
Thank you. That was good, Julie.
If they have to do a roll.
Gonzalez,
Here, yes.
Isajek,
Yes.
Pelletier, yes, Puzo,
Yes.
Jost.
Yes.
Okay, so I have 9:20. We are back into open session. We'll do roll call.
Gonzalez,
Here.
Isajek,
Here.
Pelletier, here, Puzo, here, Jost.
All right. Vote on executive session item if necessary.
I don't think you need to vote since you're all in agreement.
We're all in agreement.
I would just ask, first, the board wants me to notify the candidates that we are not interviewing, that we're going with other candidates, and then contact the 5 that we are, correct?
Yes.
And then approximately how long per interview are you thinking? 15 minutes, 20 minutes?
Say 20 minutes.
Just so that I can get them scheduled throughout the evening.
20 minutes more?
Okay. So in 20 minutes.
Should,
Yeah, I think I know what you're gonna say, go to say.
I mean, should we just start the board meeting early, but no, forget it. Don't want to do that.
I mean, we can. I mean, that's the.
I can't get here earlier.
Okay, that's, yeah, but.
I mean, maybe like 30 minutes, but I probably wouldn't be able to eat dinner.
Okay, so we'll start the board meeting at the regular time of 7 PM. I will try to make sure that there's nothing that's really time consuming on the October agenda, just to get us up. So this makes up for the, these two meetings will make up for the past two meetings that have been really quick.
Yeah.
Right.
And hopefully we'll go back to that again, but yeah. Okay, so I will contact the people that were no's and,
Please thank them for their
yes,
application.
and then encourage them that if they're continue to be interested, there's, right, I mean, there are elections. Okay, and then 20-minute interviews, and then I'll get those scheduled, and then you guys, and then look at the questions.
All right. Communications, there was any nice little comments on the staff reports that we got from Karina. Public comments, non-agenda items. Our public has left the building.
See, we'll have 2 openings in 2023.
Well, it's 4.
Pardon?
There'll be 4 positions on the ballot.
Yeah.
So the sheet that I gave you,
Oh,
at the beginning of the meeting.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's all. So there'll be 4.
4.
Emily and Joanne's positions expire, that'll be the end of their regular term.
Right.
And then mixed term is a 2025.
Oh, there be 4.
and
Yeah,
then
yeah. I'm
Eric's
sorry.
2025.
But I booked two more.
Yeah.
Right.
2 more, that's what I meant to say, yeah. So.
All right, so it is 9:23. I would say meeting adjourned.